have enough to take out the forces of Bike Rush. It looks like Futurama is pushing Bart Jones. I wished for it. I willed it into existence. Here comes the flying MRTs. Welcome to Kane's Wrath. I'm your host, Korak, and today's map is Pipeline Fusion. Disclaimer, this is a show match, a practice between higher level players. They are either having fun or working on builds. However, there is a small prize pool. We are on patch R22. Our first two fighters on the top hand side of the map wearing the yellow and red robes and the GDI gloves, we have Bart Jones and Bike Rush Jones. Their opponents in these moments over on the bottom hand side of the map wearing the teal and green robes, sporting the GDI and nod gloves. Here is Futurama. Drive! All fighters ready? Begin! Pipeline Fusion is as it says on the tin. It is a 1v1 match mirrored to make a 2v2 map. Each player has a main, a natural, and a blue Tiberium field, as well as one Tiberium spike. We often see base rush tactics involving the natural expansions on this map, but with it being a 2v2, this leaves all kinds of opportunities for the players to engage in. All players should be starting with a crane opener. That is the most optimal build for the map because you can put the crane down and automatically set up a refinery over on the other side of the map, and then eventually move into your natural expansion with the boost from that blue Tiberium. Bike Rush has started the scouting over on the right-hand side of the map on the nod players, using pillboxes to be annoying and get that free scout out. It looks like Drive has set up his first bike. He may potentially be going into bike and buggy. That is relatively standard for the nod faction. The GDI factions will more than likely go pit bulls, but they can always mix it up. Pit bulls have started out for Futurama. Futurama moving into the main base of Bart Jones over here, getting some scouting, getting some minor harassment, nothing major. As of right now, it looks like all players have started to move. Well, most players have started to move to their natural expansions as of yet. It also looks like both players on the right-hand side of the map have taken 2 of the Tiberium spikes, giving them that little bit of an extra boost. Bike Rush taking it on his side, and sorry, excuse me, and Drive taking it on his side. Looks like we have our first set of black hand squads out for the nod faction to get rid of those pillboxes and possibly do some damage. They're really good on this map to sneak around over to the other side of the map and get what they can. We also have a flame tank that was discovered just a little bit earlier. No real purchase happens from that flame tank. He gets taken out rather unceremoniously by the red GDI player by Bike Rush over here. Small skirmishes all over the map as of right now, nothing major. The first engagement has begun. The first obelisk is out to protect Futurama's base from this attack from Bike Rush, this early movement from Bike Rush. It looks like the goal here is for Bike Rush to be the early game aggressor and for Bike Rush to cover Bart Jones while Bart Jones transitions into higher level units. That seems to be a similar case for the nod faction, as in them playing the more aggressive, the early game units, waiting for their GDI player to do the same thing, building these mammoth tanks to transition into the later game. It looks like these black hand squads have just started to do something sneaky, as well as Drive using a stealth tank to take out the almost full blue Tiberium harvester of Drive. That is going to hurt him just a little bit, and losing that refinery is not going to be super great for him. Drive is preoccupied with his micro and macro in the center of the map. He has already moved into the natural expansion of his opponent, or at least is positioning to get a little bit closer. He has his first set of Juggernauts out, ready to get what shots they can, and it doesn't look like Drive has anything here yet really to defend against this. He has avatars, and that's really about it. His first refinery does get taken out by the Juggernaut and these sonic emitters. Obelisk does come out for the defense, but it's not going to be enough. There are too many APCs here. There's the Juggernaut. There's just too much, and it looks like Drive is getting pushed out of his natural expansion. That is not going to be good for him. His MCV is still there. His MCV is exposed. He does have air units taking out what he can, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough to stop him. The Avatar is going to get focused down rather quickly. It does look like Futurama is finally moving in to assist, but I'm not sure that 3 Mammoth tanks are going to be enough to push all of this back. Maybe with the additional forces of Drive, they will have enough, but the other part that's important here is Drive is stopping, or Bike Rush is stopping Drive from harvesting all of this Tiberium. Bike Rush's MCV is also exposed. I'm not sure yet if that is his only MCV. We do get 2 EMPs called out, or an EMP called out on these 2 Mammoth tanks, forcing the other one getting taken down. Mammoth tanks are getting destroyed left and right. Obelisk has come out and is able to get a couple of shots here and there. A good number of the Juggernauts have taken damage, but they are still up, and they're going to continue doing max amount of damage. It's not looking super great for Drive over on the right-hand side of the map. The left-hand side of the map, Bart Jones has finally decided to put his hat in the tin, and he's beginning the assault on Futurama. He is being pushed back ever so slightly. Drive continuing to move forward, using these Juggernauts to try and take out the construction yard of Drive over here. Bike Rush also not dealing with these Black Hand squads that have gone heroic, killing a Juggernaut. It looks like the MCV does get taken down for Drive. Bike Rush is just being absolutely brutal. The assaults over here on the left-hand side of the map with Bart Jones and Futurama has gone about evenly so far. There are hammerheads here to support them. And once again, Drive is still just pushed completely out of his natural expansion. That's just not going to be real great for him. He's going to run out of resources. Even with the 2 Tiberium spikes, he's not going to be able to keep up. He's going to have a much harder time. And it looks like Futurama has been pushed back as well. So far, the aggressors, Bart Jones and Drive, have done a good job of pushing their opponents back, have done a good job of maintaining stuff, and they've taken what is basically the center of the map. Bart Jones hasn't quite moved into the base of Futurama, but I'm not sure it matters because it looks like his right flank, it looks like Drive is beginning to crumble. Drive just has nothing to fight against all of these forces. He just can't do anything to stay up there. Some forces for Futurama are trying to come to the rescue of Drive, but I think it's going to be too little too late, and a good number of them do back up as the forces of Bart Jones move in to engage Futurama, stopping him from helping his ally over here. I suspect that here in a little bit, Bike Rush will do what he can to start taking the actual Tiberium field, start harvesting the Tiberium field of Drive. Drive just has very, very little left. There's very little that he can do, and Futurama just can't get to him because if Futurama leaves his base, he won't be able to defend when Bart Jones attacks. Bart Jones being sort of the counterweight, keeping Futurama there, unable to do stuff. It does look like Drive pops out of the match, giving everything he can to Futurama, putting his hopes in Futurama. Hopefully, Futurama will be able to do something miraculous. Hopefully, Futurama will be able to take out both players. 1v2s do happen from time to time. It will be harder with some of these stronger players. Both Bart Jones and Drive are nothing to sneeze at. They are higher level players, but it is not impossible to 1v2 them. Futurama still building up his forces. He has quite a number of troops over on the left-hand side of the map, and it doesn't look like Bart Jones can really fight him as of yet, and I believe the forces for Bike Rush are pretty far out of the way. However, if Drive can hold him off just long enough to take out a good number of the forces of Futurama, they can pincer them, or Bike Rush can move into the base of Futurama. Bike Rush going behind Futurama and taking his Tiberium spikes. He had 2 engineers early on. He probably used a transport to move them over and take those Tiberium spikes, taking what precious little resources Futurama had left. This, of course, is continuing onto the assault onto Drive's base, or onto Words are hard. Bart Jones' base over here. Futurama is relentlessly pushing. He does decide to call in the GG. He has lost too many forces, and over on his peripherals, he was able to see Bike Rush moving his way forward. He was probably also running a little bit low on resources, losing those blue Tiberium spikes. That is unfortunate for him, but we will see how things turn out in round 2, Commander. Welcome back, Commander. We are on the map Wastelands Dam with a score of 1-0, putting Bart and Bike in the lead. This encounter is sponsored by Couch Potato Athletes, turning lazy Sundays into a competitive sport. Start us off on the top right-hand side of the map, wearing the yellow and red robe, sporting the GI gloves. This is Bart Jones. Bike Rush Jones. Over on the bottom left-hand side of the map, wearing the teal and green robe, sporting the screen and nod gloves, here is Futurama and Drive. All fighters ready? Begin. Wastelands Dam is a map that has a lot of opportunities for skirmishes. There are contested Tiberium fields, contested Tiberium spikes, and blue Tiberium in the center, as well as a mutant hovel. Please fight over the mutant hovel. Bike Rush has already set himself up into the natural expansion of Drive, using those GDI pillboxes to be extra annoying. All players seem to have started with normal openers, nothing silly like a crane, nothing silly like a rush as of right now. But if the Nod faction, who is more than likely to do the rush, had started with that, there is plenty of scouting here for Bike Rush and for Bart Jones to see if there is some silliness going to happen. Both sets of players on both sides of the map have taken their standard Tiberium spike. Bike Rush has moved into the contested Tiberium spike in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. The top left-hand corner of the map has not been taken just quite yet, and the mutant hovel is still vacant, sadly. Looks like we have our first set of early game units. It looks like we're going to see some early APCs, some standard APCs for Drive coming out. I would assume we'd get at least a Pitbull or two, but he also has a barracks on the front line. He does sit another pillbox out in front of the base of Drive over here to get some scouting and to be annoying. That's not going to cost him a whole bunch to set up that. He's just got to pay for the unit and then pay for the pillbox, and then it's going to be stuck there for a little bit, giving him free scouting. Blue Tiberium has started to build up in the center of the map. It'll be interesting to see if anyone does decide to go for that. Futurama beginning to scout onto Bike Rush's base and possibly Bart Jones if he can get all the way in there. Garrison units do get pushed out of the base, or of the natural expansion of Bike Rush, and it looks like the natural expansion for Drive has freed up over here as well. Scout moving forward, seeing what it can see of the bases, and it looks like we have started a skirmish over on the top left-hand side of the map over this Tiberium spike. It looks like Futurama is a little bit more established. Bike Rush did decide to build an airfield, and it did get scouted by Drive. Drive did ping it out to his partner, to Futurama over here, so they know that that is coming. What is nice about the Scrin units, as I've said many times before, is the Scrin units, Seeker tanks, can shoot down air units. So if they are just in the right place at the right time, they can get rid of some of the Orca strikes. They can get rid of some of the air units that are coming in. So that is super useful. I'm also going to guess that at least the Scrin faction is going to prepare a storm column to deal with the air units if they make their way in, and probably have that barreled. They're probably going to expect some sort of Orca strike early on. It looks like the forces of Drive have just started to move into the center of the map, to move around and start hitting the back part of the base of Drive. Drive does have his T3 out. Bike Rush is about to see that. Looks like first set of air units are starting to move in on their side of the map. There is an Orca strike here, and there is standard Orcas as well. One harvester does go down. A second harvester gets extremely close to going down, but it looks like Drive had the forces to fight them off. He had the SAM turrets. He had the bikes that are moving into Bike Rush's base as of right now. Bike Rush has started the APSC assault to take out that last harvester, slowing down the natural expansion of his opponent of Drive. Futurama getting an assault on his natural expansion as well, but the tripod is going to chase off the assault. Futurama also did decide to take that natural expansion. Pings come out for Drive, giving the scout for the natural expansion, or for the main base, I'm sorry, of Drive. These bikes do manage to get at least one harvester, but they're going to be killed by the orcas. They do rank up just in time to die. The forces for Bart Jones are positioning over on the final natural expansion of both players. He has a large number of tanks here, but they're going to have a hard time dealing with these tripods when they eventually move in. Drone Ship is moving into that natural expansion. Futurama trying to take the early lead, making his way over there, but Bart Jones has already beat him there, starting to set up a base, setting up a front war factory for himself to get ready for the fight. It looks like we are also about to see a Marv for Drive. Drive is about halfway done with that Marv, and he is starting to move into the large natural expansion of the contested territory for him and Drive. The assault has begun over on the top-hand side of the map. It looks like the Devastator warship does spot the war factory, does get a couple of shots off. There is an air support field here for Bart Jones moving forward, and it looks like Drive has set up some SAM turrets over on his side of the map. Drive does need to worry about himself because he has a good number of forces, a good number of tanks and shatterers moving into the base of his natural expansion, moving into Drive's area. Here is the neutral mothership, my favorite part of the map. It just flies around and does its thing. It looks like Futurama has pushed back the forces of Bart Jones over on the left-hand side of the map. Some sort of air transport does get taken out by Futurama early on. Nothing is able to happen from that. Juggernauts are out for Bike Rush over on the right-hand side of the map. The bikes are going to scout that and see that those Juggernauts are there, so he's going to know that he has to prepare for it. Devastator warships are doing long-distance damage where they can, but the answer right here is slingshots. Slingshots moving forward, probably going to take out a Devastator warship here. It does look like it does get away just in time. AA turrets are out for Bart Jones as well. Marv has started harvesting the contested Tiberium over on the bottom right-hand side of the map. Futurama has begun his assault onto Bart Jones, having a staggering amount of shielded tripods, Devastator warships, and Obelisk on that side of the map. It looks like that's where they're spending most of the resources, while Drive's goal is potentially just to harass Bike Rush and keep him busy. But the other thing, though, too, is Bike Rush is getting a bunch of resources from harvesting this very large green Tiberium field. It looks like Bart Jones is getting pushed out of the natural expansion over here on this side of the map. He loses plenty of forces. There is a mammoth tank over here that is isolated and going to get destroyed rather unceremoniously. I think most of the forces for Bart Jones are down on this side of the map, but his partner Bike Rush has a good number of forces still ready to go, and if he can occupy Drive, then that'll be massive for him. One player each has taken the large natural expansion for themselves, for their team, so that is going to be useful for them. It looks like we do get some small harvesting of the blue Tiberium over here in the center of the map, but they almost get taken out. One click does save it over here. Marv has moved into the natural expansion of Drive over here on the bottom right-hand side of the map. Marv is supported by these Juggernauts that is going to do a good chunk of damage, but there are a lot of avatars. There's an Obelisk here, and the Marv is down to half HP with no engineers inside the hard points. These Black Hand squads are going to unceremoniously push out this Marv and do a large number of damage. Zone troopers here are here to try to take out the Black Hand squads, but they get taken down just as quickly as they spawn, and it looks like Bike Rush is making a base rush into the natural expansion of Drive over here on this side of the map. Handful of Juggernauts do go down. That is a large loss for Bike Rush. Taking out the Husk, the Black Hand squads are doing a lot. There is a bunch of blocks here for the barracks over on this side of the map, saving the Marv just barely. Small assault in the north. Juggernauts are taking out what they can, not doing a crazy amount of damage, but having that Marv at such low health is not going to be good for Bike Rush. It does look like the forces have slowed down a good number on this right-hand side of the map, but Bike Rush decides that he has lost too many forces and that Bart Jones was not able to fend off Futurama there. They do decide to call in the GG, moving us over to round 3. This is round 3, Commander, and the map is Hurricane Lands. So Houston, the score has moved to 1-1, with Futurama and Drive tying up the score. This round is sponsored by Procrastinator's Planner. Perfect planning for planning someday. Over here on the top right-hand side of the map, wearing the yellow and red robes and the nod and GDI gloves, this is Bart Jones. And Bike Rush Jones. Lastly, but certainly not leastly, on the bottom left-hand side of the map, wearing the teal and green robes, sporting the screen and nod gloves, here is Futurama and Drive. All fighters ready? Begin. Last round, Futurama and Drive, mixing it up with Drive playing defense, and Futurama moving on the base of Bart, taking the top left-hand side of the field. Quickly afterwards, Bike tried to move into the natural expansion of Drive, but lost too many forces, giving Futurama and Drive the round. All players have started out with standard openers. We're getting our scouting out as of right now, and it looks like Drive has already started on attacking some of the harvesters over here. Harvester is half HP on this side of the map, but just not quite able to take it. The micro is there for Bart Jones around that war factory, getting repairs, getting armor while he is doing that. It doesn't look like Bike has set up any annoying pillboxes on the side of Drive, as he tends to do, just quite yet, but that doesn't mean there is not more to come. The Bikes do manage to grab something. I just quite missed it, unfortunately. Scouts coming out for Futurama over here. They're going to try to snack on these units. They're going to grab them, and then I assume move on to the next set. And there they go, getting another stack, killing the scouts of Bike Rush. Probably why there is no pillboxes yet in Drive's base, because they decided to go for Futurama this time around, probably thinking that he's going to have more resources with the 2 Tiberium fields right there on his side. It looks like both players, or both sets of teams, have decided to go for similar openers. One player going for this large tip field, another player going for the 2 on that side of the map. Seeker tanks are moving into the base of Bart Jones over here, getting a good number of kills on turrets, but not getting any harvesters yet, because there are no harvesters here quite yet. There are watchtowers out for Drive over here, but they are in low power mode and doing no good as of right now. Power plant has come out, activating those watchtowers. Probably too little too late. A good chunk of these tanks are already down. Seeker tanks not finding quite any purchase on anything. There's just too many Scorpion tanks on that side of the field. Minor skirmishing happening on the bottom right hand side of the map. Nothing too major. I'm not sure that Futurama's gonna get too much from this. I believe he delayed the harvesting of that Tiberian field, but it won't have that massive of effect, and losing 5 Seeker tanks, that's not exactly a cheap loss. Bike's starting a minor engagement against the APCs and pit bulls of Bike over here. Bike's gonna try to move into the base of Drive, but Drive is ready and waiting for it with his Scorpion tanks ready to go. Bart Jones starting to build himself back up, possibly preparing for Futurama attacking and possibly moving in to attack Futurama over here. Descent's moving in on Scorpion tanks over on the top left-hand side of the map. Nothing real major just quite yet. It looks like Bike Rush over here is positioning on Drive to take this upper part of the Tiberium field. I wouldn't be surprised to see if he moves his MCV, and there it is. Looks like he's going to try and base rush where he can. He's going to poke his head in and move his head out, just trying to delay the harvesting of Drive over on that side of the field. And that does appear to be a goal. A larger engagement has moved on. A couple more Scorpion tanks are going down for Drive, but Drive still has the defender's advantage. He's going to be able to do a lot with it. However, it doesn't look like Bike Rush is going anywhere anytime soon. Forces of Futurama have been pushed back over here by the forces of Bart Jones, and it's looking like the forces of Futurama are just looking just a little bit anemic. There are a couple more reinforcements from Bart Jones coming over here to help with Drive's push, or Bike Rush's push. Reinforcements come in for Bike Rush over on this side of the map. This engagement is heating up. Futurama positioning just a little bit to move in, but backs out almost immediately, possibly sensing this attack coming around to the northern side of his base. Maybe not yet, because there is a large number of forces here, and they're probably going to get a Harvester for almost for free. Futurama finally seeing that, moving himself around. Drive just barely hanging on over on this side of the map. We do get a one click from Futurama, saving almost a full Tiberium load of Tiberium on this side of the map. We've got reinforcements. We got tripods for Futurama to help out Drive, but I'm not sure that's going to be enough in order to dislodge Bike Rush from this side of the map. It's going to be pretty tough. It looks like that first tripod is going to go down on that side. Yep, there he goes. He has been taken out. I suspect we're going to see some T3 shenanigans here from Bike Rush. It would be pretty decent to get out some, what are they called? Sonic emitters. Words are hard on that side of the map. Bart Jones moving into the base of Drive as well. Hopefully Futurama responds here in a minute. He's got a couple of tripods, got a couple of seeker tanks, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough. This is still looking rather anemic for Drive on this side of the map. The forces for Bike Rush, the forces for Bart Jones just seem to be too much, and it looks like Bart Jones has transitioned into laser turrets for his Scorpion tanks. This is going to do a lot of damage to Drive's base. Futurama putting down a storm column. Futurama putting down a couple more defensive towers, but it's just going to be too little too late and not going to be able to do too much. Bart Jones has decided to target the War Factory over here on this side of the map, taking it out. That's going to be really unfortunate for Drive. He needs those reinforcements. He needs those troops on the field. And the other part about this that is not looking great for them is avatars have moved on this side of the map, as well as a disruption tower. There is a stasis field out to help out, but I'm not sure how much it's going to be, considering there is now a sonic emitter on the field thanks to Bike Rush. This is just looking not great on the Futurama Drive side of the map, because this entire time they are not able to they're not able to harvest that field, which means that Drive is very quickly going to run out of resources. Futurama also not looking too hot over on this side of the map. He almost has no forces. What forces he does have are tied up dealing with Drive, freeing up Bart Jones probably to go get something over here like the T3, and to get the T3 over on this side of the map. That does appear to be his goal. Obelisk is here. Obelisk does get called out in order to help, but it's going to be too little too late. That T3 is going to go down. That is going to be detrimental for Futurama and Drive. The other bad news is that there are several juggernauts on the map, on the field, taking out Drive's base. That is where Futurama and Drive do decide to call in the GG, just not able to contend with the forces of both Bike Rush and Bart Jones. Bike Rush and Bart Jones looking in top shape in that round, doing phenomenally, working together. It's time to refill that snack stash, Commander. Round 4 is coming up. Welcome to Tiberium Pantanus. The score is now 2-1, with Bart and Bike rushing into the lead. This round is sponsored by Echo Chamber Electronics, where all your ideas are the best idea. Our two condiments over on the top right-hand side of the map, wearing the yellow and red robes and the Nah and GDI gloves, the mustard to the ketchup, the Bart Jones to the Bike Rush Jones. Their opponents only one half condiments in the bottom left-hand side of the map, wearing the teal and green robes, sporting the scrin and the gloves. We have Futurama and Drive. All fighters ready? Begin! This is a map I don't get to see too often. and it's a little unique, having an odd number of Tiberium spikes, as well as a large amount of terrain breaks on the map to make things just a little bit spicy. There are also 2 blue Tiberium fields for both sets of teams to fight over, as well as very large contested green Tiberium fields on the map. There is even a contested Tiberium spike over on the northern side of the map, but I think that is quite the journey to make it to. These Tiberium spikes are also in some weird places. There is a safety spike by each player, but there's also this sort of contested spike further down on the map. It doesn't appear that any of the players have started off with anything sneaky as of yet. The scouting has been more successful over on the Drive and Futurama side. I say that, and then a bike makes its way, a buggy makes its way into their base, getting the scout off. It'll be interesting to see who is the aggressor this time around. Futurama and Drive have been mixing up, and last game, Bart Jones and Bike were the aggressor. And that's probably not a bad idea either way, but it was interesting seeing the tactic of both players, or one player holding out and one player being the aggressor, which would be using your 2v2 advantage to your advantage. Someone maybe saving up some reserve forces and moving in where they can. Looks like we're going to get some bike and buggy from Drive over here. Not a bad strategy. This is a very large map, a good map in my opinion for Nod with their speed. That speed is going to make a big difference on this map. Blue Tiberian already getting grabbed by, it looks like, both teams. Bart Jones grabbing it for his side and Drive grabbing it for his side. That's going to be good for both teams. We have the first scouting, the first skirmish inside the base of Bike Rush over here, ironically with a tiny Bike Rush attacking these pit bulls, but they're going to be outnumbered relatively quickly. Another pit bull almost does go down, but it looks like Drive did stop these forces just in time for him to get picked off over on that side of the map. Unfortunate for him, but he was probably engaged in a lot of different things at once. We already have an operations center out for the Nod faction, out for Drive, at least on his side, so we might get to see some sneaky flame tanks. And speak of the devil, there they are. Their first flame tank is already out, and the Black Hand squads are moving their way forward. His goal is probably going to be to go around the right hand side of the map and try to get something sneaky off. Futurama moving into his next natural expansion, at least with his forces, to see if Drive or Bike Rush have decided to make their way over there. Neither one of them have quite yet, but he is trying to get to see what he can see, because that's going to be important for his scouting. First set of Black Hands are going to get taken down kind of unceremoniously over here by the APCs. They're going to get knocked out relatively quickly. That is unfortunate for them, but I think their goal is to continue to distract themselves from this flame tank. And oh my god, if Bike Rush is not paying attention here, he is about to lose an MCV. There is a flame tank here. Drive better be paying attention. This is a valuable target for him to grab. Even though he's not going to be able to do a crazy amount of damage, that is still a useful target. He does decide to ignore it for whatever reason, possibly thinking that he's not going to have the time to take it out, but for the most part, this flame tank is uncontested over on the right hand side of the map. Bike Rush's forces are engaged in the center of the map, fighting Drive. That flame tank is just going to find all kinds of purchase. He's been able to take out a Tiberium spike, 2 buildings, and a war factory. He is just getting all kinds of stuff for free. He has already ranked up and started to get even more deals on this side of the map. He almost gets another power plant, but he does get the war factory. That is not going to be good for Bike Rush. Bike Rush lost a lot. Black Hand Squad does move in to take out the construction yard, taking it down to half HP, forcing Bike Rush to repair that. It looks like the posturing has begun over on the northern side of the map between Bart Jones and Futurama. They are positioning over that contested Tiberium field. Blue Tiberium field has started to move up as well, has started to build up as well, so I assume that we're going to see a player try to grab it here in a minute. First obelisk is on the front line for Drive over here. Doesn't look like Drive is positioning to make any effort into this Tiberium field, and there are a large number of forces here for Bike Rush. The Redeemer is out for Drive. It looks like he's going for a little bit higher tier units after doing that flame tank rush. that is going to help, but he only has so many forces to fight off this APC man and tank spam on this side of the map. There's also air units attacking the T3 of the Nod faction, doing what they can. Futurama is the first to move into his natural expansion over on that side, beating Bart Jones. I don't think Bart Jones has moved his APC up quite yet. It looks like Drive is playing more of the defensive game this time around, although that Flame Tank Rush did award him a good number of things. Looks like we have some hammerheads out here as well for Bike Rush. Bike Rush favoring some decent amount of air units. He's feeling that is the name of today's game. He does stop the repair on his MCV, probably not wanting to spend too much money. Bart Jones now has some bombers out moving towards the base of Drive. If he can take out that T3, that will be useful to him, but that doesn't appear to be his target. Sam turrets do get a couple of shots out, and the MCV goes down for Drive. That is really good for Bart Jones, absolutely taking that MCV. It is not impossible for Drive to come back from that, but 3,500 resources is a lot of resources to deal with. However, he might have enough to take out the forces of Bike Rush over here, and Bike Rush is already down a bit when it comes to the infrastructure. He lost a lot to that Flame Tank, which is going to matter later on in the game. However, he has made up for it, or managed to make up for it, by holding this refinery over on this side of the map, getting this resource, while Drive is going to start running into problems with being anemic. The Rage does call out for for the Redeemer, but the Redeemer is going to get outnumbered here. There's just too many units to fight. He's not going to be able to do too much. He does have a single engineer and a Black Hand squad inside of him, so he's going to be good at close range and get some small repairs, but his rear armor is also going to get targeted. And it looks like the forces for Bike Rush got took out way more than I expected them to. I didn't see these Venoms here wiping up the forces of Bike Rush. Futurama watching his ally over on this side of the map, giving the Redeemer a one-click, giving the Redeemer that field to protect himself. These hammerheads are still going to be an issue, but thankfully, I did say thankfully, there were some Venoms here to fight the hammerheads, but they go down just as quickly as they arrive. Drive just not having the answer to this air power for both factions and getting absolutely hammered. There goes the Redeemer. Bart Jones is just absolutely on top of it, taking out the MCV of Drive, taking out the Redeemer of Drive, just being an absolute hassle. And he has a ridiculous force over here on this side of the map. But the unfortunate side for Bart Jones is his resources are limited. Futurama is fully established inside that Tiberium field. The same is also true for Bike Rush, but Bike Rush had to back out some harvesters while he engaged, so they're going to be a little bit behind on the resources. The main engagement has begun in the northern side of the map. There's a good number of man spam here to fight off the sprint units, but the answer to that is these gun walkers. Hopefully they will be able to take out what they can, and it's not looking super great for Bart Jones. There are planetary assault carriers here, as well as Devastator warships. They're just going to be able to do all kinds of damage, mostly taking out the forces of Bart Jones already. Bike Rush moving in a Mammoth tank, and the one click coming out for these avatars, giving Futurama even more time to prepare for this fight. It does look like the forces of Futurama have begun to turn around because they are getting picked off left and right. There are a couple more reinforcements moving in slowly at the time. This fight could really go either direction. Although Futurama is all the way in, there is not much he can do. He has to stay here. His drone platform is here. That's why he's slapping down portal after portal and defense structure after defense structure, doing everything that he can. Drive has moved in to do some more sneaky tactics inside of Bike Rush's base. This Mammoth tank just not being able to keep up, and Drive just sort of walking around the base with these both stealth tanks and regular Scorpion tanks, just getting behind the enemy lines and doing all the damage that they can. This is a good strategy. Futurama engaging in the majority of the forces here, while while Drive sneaks into the base of both of their opponents, doing a large amount of damage to their infrastructure. This assault has been mostly pushed back by Futurama, giving Drive just a little bit more time to get a couple more units, but not enough to find any real purchase. The biggest thing here is that Bart Jones is going to run out of resources. He's just not going to be able to keep up with Futurama. The other is also true for for Drive, because Bike Rush is sitting on that natural expansion, just like Futurama is sitting on the natural expansion as him. They're going to be able to get some Tiberium from their old fields. Like this one has replenished quite nicely, but that's only going to account for so much. It looks like both Tiberium spikes over on that side of the map have been taken out. I don't believe the tip spike for Futurama is still there, so that's going to be income on top of income on top of income. And there is still the blue Tiberium fields over here in the center. It looks like Drive has managed to get a large number of Venoms up and going, as well as a couple of tiered up units. They are moving in to get this harassment. If they can get these Juggernauts, that'll be a massive purchase for them. One Juggernaut does go down, and another Venom gets a rank. One Mammoth Tank is going to get caught out by himself. They are going to get sandwiched here in a minute, but if they get that Mammoth Tank, that'll be huge for them. First Mammoth Tank does get taken down, and they can turn on these they can turn on these pit bulls. Bike Rush deciding to put a war factory on the front line, determining that it is extremely important to continue with his forces, continue with his building up. He has harvested a good number of the resources over on this side of the map. It looks like at some point Bart Jones has moved in there. That way he can have some sort of economy as well. But he's going to have a hard time keeping up with the forces of Futurama. Futurama just has a staggering amount of these shielded tripods, which are a force to be reckoned with. MCV moving into the blue Tiberium, probably trying to control that as best he can. Drive sort of sensing that, moving his way into the blue Tiberium as well, and if he can get this MCV, that'll be massive. He does get minor damage on it, and the MCV is mostly isolated on this side of the map. He could probably win an engagement here, especially if he can pick off those Juggernauts. He does decide to back off and get what he can. More bombers moving in on the northern side of Futurama's base, getting what harvesters they are able to, but nothing major as of right now. Bart Jones is still going to have some problems with resources, just like Drive, but Drive has done a very good job of using his units to the best of his ability, using those flame tanks, using those units to sneak around to the old main base of Bart and Drive. That's going to do a lot for them. He's had 2 assaults into that base. That's going to help him a large number. Futurama just looking absolutely set up over on this side of the map. However, there are a crazy amount of avatars on the Bart Jones side of the map. That is going to be good for him. And Drive, not wanting to be left out, has gone almost full Scorpion tanks. He's gotten his upgrades as well. He's got Scorpion tanks, Venoms, and Black Hand Squads. Not the worst strategy. There are some ranked up stealth tanks over on this side of the map, causing more havoc for Bike Rush, taking out refineries, taking out harvesters, just being absolute pests. And I'm assuming they're going to move and get what snipes they can, where they can, over on the Bart Jones side of the map. It looks like the main engagement has started for Drive and Bike Rush. These Venoms just so far uncontested as of right now. Now, hopefully these Venoms can get some purchase on these Juggernauts. The Juggernauts are the primary threat over here to take them out, and they are split. Unfortunately, Drive not having enough time to group up his forces on this side of the map, and I'm sorry, Bike Rush not having enough time to group up his forces over on this side of the map. They do get split off, allowing Drive to get a good number of kills where he can. That's going to be great, but that is also going to be most of the forces of Drive on this side of the map. He did make a big dent into the forces of Bike Rush, which may not sound like a lot, but considering he is behind on resources compared to Bike Rush, he is finding great purchase in what little units he has. And the most important thing is he's holding off Bike Rush to the best of his ability. He might start losing some ground here soon, especially if Futurama doesn't begin to push in, but it's not going to be an easy fight. I say that, and I think Drive is almost completely out of units. I think he's out of resources almost entirely. It looks like some reinforcements have started to move in for Futurama to fight Bike Rush. Futurama has decided, I will fight both opponents at the same time if I need to. You held off as long as you could, Drive. I'm coming to help. And his secondary army over on the top side of the map is just staggering, even compared to the forces of Bart Jones. Bike Rush positioning to move into the base of Drive once again, and another large skirmish has begun in the north where these Devastator warships are just wreaking down havoc on this side of the map. It looks like so far Bike Rush is just absolutely uncontested. I'm not sure Futurama is going to have the macro in order to fight both Bart Jones and Bike Rush. He doesn't seem to have an answer to that push from Bike Rush. First one click does get called out, grabbing a bunch of this beam cannons. That is going to be really good for Futurama. Those beam cannons are an absolute hassle to deal with, and it also buys them time to take out some more of the other units. The reinforcements that were sent to the south have finally regrouped and are going to be able to do a large amount of damage to Bart Jones, probably taking out the final bits of forces for them. But Bike Rush is also moving into the base of Drive and Futurama on this side of the map. Unfortunately, a lot of these harvesters are going to get taken down because they are in the wrong place at the wrong time. However, Futurama is doing everything he can to stay on this map. This is a lot to contest with, and unfortunately, Drive just didn't have the resources to keep up with Bike Rush. Bike Rush just moving into that natural expansion too quick for him and starving the starving his opponent Drive. T3 is still up, however, at least for the time being for Futurama. Futurama moving some forces in, but I think it's going to be too little too late. These rail cannons are going to do a large amount of damage. Bike does decide to switch over to the nerve center, but he is sort of waffling in between two different areas while he can. It looks like Bart Jones has popped himself out of the map to give Bike Rush the remaining of the forces, and it looks like it's basically just Futurama versus Drive on this side of the map. It is not impossible for Futurama to win this engagement, and with there only being one player per each, the micro and macro is going to be a little bit more tied up this time around, considering there are not two players both playing micro and macro. So Futurama no longer has to deal with both Bart Jones and Bike. It's just Bike. However, the infrastructure for Bart Jones over here is still up, and that seems to be the number one thing that they have on top of Futurama is this infrastructure from Bart Jones's base. Stealth tanks are going to continue being an absolute hassle, getting a crazy amount of ranks on themselves, taking out refineries, taking out harvesters, just doing everything they can. Those units were also gifted by Drive. Drive may be out, but he is still here in spirit with those stealth tanks. Those stealth tanks doing a lot of work. Those sneaky tactics doing a lot of work, and they could cost Bike Rush the game. However, the base for Futurama is relatively exposed on the south side of the map. He's going to have a good number of troops moving in here in a minute. He does have some defenses ready to go. He does have some descents, but they're only going to be able to do too much. Unfortunately, these bikes are going to get caught out by the descents. That is not great for Bike Rush. He really needed those in order to take out some of these reinforcements. However, he is grouping most of his forces over on this side of the map. The infrastructure for Bart Jones is mostly taken out by Futurama, and Futurama is contending with this assault as best he can over on this side of the map. He has left a couple of forces to defend what remains of his base, but the infrastructure is gone over on that top right-hand side of the map. It's going to come down to these two armies and where they decide to go, where they decide to position, as well as what little resources are remaining. Both players are going to have a hard time getting refineries up and going. They're going to have a hard time keeping their resources up and going. And the other thing going for Futurama is that he has this defender's advantage as well as his army moving back in. This is not spelling super great for Bike Rush. However, Bike Rush is going to be able to get a lot of kills before he moves into there. These railguns on the Predator tanks are just doing a devastating amount of damage. And the other thing, though, too, is the drone ship is almost down. It is almost dead. But the reinforcements are here to begin the fight, wiping out these forces for Bike Rush. However, they are not going quietly into the night whatsoever. We have heroic tanks. We have ranked up tanks. They are doing all kinds of craziness. They are being extremely useful, and it looks like Futurama just might be able to hold off this assault. Bike Rush is not letting up whatsoever, though. He's moved APCs in on the base of Futurama, putting Futurama on almost the complete defense, which can be a pro and a con, as I've mentioned many times before. stealth tanks continuing to be absolute pests, taking out harvester after harvester after harvester, just killing everything they can. Neither Bart, Jones, or Bike can keep up with it. They're doing, Bike is doing a phenomenal job assaulting both sides of Futurama over here, but his forces are starting to look anemic, and these stealth tanks continue to kill all of these harvesters, forcing Bike Rush to long distance harvest. If I was a betting man, I would put my money on Futurama here. He is looking in the better spot. He has the larger army. He can start building some infrastructure. I don't know where his drone ship went off to. Okay, looks like it just placed itself right over there. And he's got a couple harvesters going as well. However, Bike Rush did have a good number of harvesters until these stealth tanks got a good number of kills on them. And if I'm correct... Oh, I didn't even see Bike Rush putting his MCV over on the bottom left-hand corner, being sneaky, trying to make a beachhead over on this side of the map. I'm not even sure if Futurama is going to be able to see him. Descent's able to catch some of these tanks. Losing these tanks aren't going to be great. Losing those those ranks on the tanks are not going to be great. Unfortunately, there goes another tank down. Every unit is precious right now to Bike Rush. He does still have a good chunk of units ready to go, but just absolutely every unit is going to be super, super important. Futurama possibly seeing that Bike Rush has put his MCV over here. He's going to try the best he can in order to grab this MCV, and if he does, that could be the GG right there. These forces are going to get caught off over here, over on this side of the map, but the tripods are nothing to sneeze at. Neither are these avatars. These avatars can do a good amount of damage to these APCs, but these APCs are out here in mass. One click gets hauled out from Futurama, stopping about half of the forces of the APCs over on this side, giving them time to kill more and more of the units of Bike Rush. Bike Rush almost exclusively being forced to use that long distance harvesting. He doesn't have any refineries up anywhere else. That's going to cost him a lot of time, and time is definitely money in Kane's wrath. The main force for Futurama has begun to move on the remaining MCV of Bike Rush. Bike Rush is almost completely out of forces, and I'm not sure he's going to be able to save this MCV at all. And there it is. There is the GG, everyone. Bike Rush just not able to keep up with Futurama this time around. Futurama just showing superior micro and macro, whittling down the forces of Bart Jones, then taking out the infrastructure of Bart and moving on Bike Rush. This battlefield is about to get intense. Meet me in round 5. Attention Commander, round 5 is on Ice Arena. The score is tied up once again at 2-2 with Futurama and Drive taking the last round. This encounter is sponsored by Bet Olympics, where hitting the snooze button is the winning move. The team in the top left-hand side of the map wearing the yellow and red robes and the nod and GDI gloves, we have Bart Jones and Bike Rush Jones. Their sparring partners for the evening on the bottom right-hand side of the map wearing the teal and green robes in the scrin and nod gloves, the no condiments on their hot dogs, Futurama and Drive. All fighters ready? Begin! In the last round, Drive and Bike clashed on the bottom side of the map while Futurama battled in the north. Drive held out against Bike despite his economic disadvantage, allowing Futurama to press his advantage, and then Drive decided to use his flame tanks and stealth tanks to get some sneaky kills on the infrastructure on Bart and Bike. After that significant damage, Futurama eventually defeated Bart in the north, leaving just him and Bike to duke it out. Futurama was able to whittle down Bike until he got himself the round. All players starting off so far looking like standard openers, nothing sneaky just yet. They're probably already going to expect the sneakiness, and with the amount of scouting these players have been able to get out as of right now, they would be able to see any of that silliness coming. So most of these guys are going to opt for sort of closer to standard builds. Just like the previous map, this is also an interesting one where one player like Drive right here will go for the big Tiberium field on this side of the map, where Futurama or the other player will go for this dual field over here. That seems to be what both players are opting for. That seems to be the optimal strategy for this particular map. Ice Arena is also nice because it has the 2 blue Tiberium fields in the center to fight over, basically 1 per team, at least distance-wise. I think there is 1 Tiberium spike per player. That does appear to be the case. There doesn't seem to be any contested Tiberium spikes as of right now. Yeah, that does appear to be the case. Everybody's Naturals expansions are developing quite nicely. We have started with our small skirmishes with units moving in, getting their scouting off, gunwalkers out, bikes out over here for Bart Jones, poking around to see what they can get. They could get some nice shots on these gunwalkers, but the APCs are here from Drive to... Oh, they're absolutely going to pinch these gunwalkers right here and get a couple of early kills. They do lose 1 bike for 1 gunwalker. A relatively decent trade. That gunwalker is just a little bit more expensive than the bike, but once again, minor skirmishing. That's all they're really doing right now. They're just trying to see what they can get. Drive using his Scorpions to push out Bart Jones, protecting his Harvesters, because he is going to be the more forward player. Well, once again, Bike is also going to be the more forward player. I suspect that we're going to see a good amount of engagement between those two. But also with the way this map is set up, they're really in a good spot for Futurama to fight Bike Rush this time around, and for Bart Jones to fight Drive this go around. So it'll be interesting to see how both players decide to handle that and how Futurama deals with Bike Rush. Bike Rush moving into the base of Futurama. There are a lot of shielded gunwalkers here to get the first kill on one of these APCs, but there also are a good number of tanks here as well. Bart Jones does use the nod 1-click to throw in some fake tanks to soak up some of the attacks, but I'm not sure it's going to be quite enough. However, this is a large amount of tanks versus a large amount of gunwalkers. The gunwalkers seem to be doing relatively well. There's not too much to take out the disintegrators over on this side of the map, and I'm guessing we also have Drive's 1-click to get these fake gunwalkers here on the map, soaking up what little shots they can. Futurama's forces are looking a little anemic, though. After that fight, Drive positioning and move back to his base in order to prepare for Bart Jones. And right now, we do have some tripods going. We have 2 tripods going. That is going to be able to tip the scales in Futurama's favor as of right now in the north. It doesn't look like Bike was able to find some purchases on Futurama, as in Bike wasn't able to grab any harvesters or prevent the harvesting of Futurama. However, he is on the offensive. And because he is pushing forward, they're able to control these blue Tiberium fields. I wouldn't be surprised if here in a little bit they're going to try to do something sneaky and grab that. However, Drive is not going to let that slide, as he moves his bike and buggy in there to get harassment, to get view on the center of the map. We do have our first set of Black Hand Squads out here by Bart Jones. It'll be interesting to see if they can grab some kills over here. It does look like the bike and buggy gets caught out at some point. I didn't quite see how many units went down, but it does look like a large number of them, and it's not looking like Drive is just quite ready. He does have a good number of avatars, so maybe he's more prepared for this fight than I originally expected. Another unit gets taken down, I'm guessing, by not an Orca Strike, a Vertigo Bomber, getting 1 kill on one of the Scorpions. That is going to help whittle down. It looks like Bike has a good number of tanks ready to go. Futurama is able to grab blue Tiberium in the center of the map, moving his force forward, moving those tripods forward to get that, and I'm guessing we're going to see probably some Mammoth tanks from... Yep, there they are. Looks like we're going to see some Mammoth tanks from Drive to support his staggering amount of Predator tanks over on this side of the map. Scouting still continuing. It looks like Bart Jones has decided to grab the laser capacitors in order to fight his opponent, in order to fight Drive on that side of the map. That is not a bad call. I'm not sure if Drive does not have his yet, but however, Drive does have his avatars. And the thinking might be Bart Jones needs to move in and out, and those avatars just being a little bit slower. They're really better on defense or slow pushes because they have a harder time keeping up with some of the other units. The Scorpion tanks are just a little bit too fast, so that's probably what Bart Jones is thinking here with just this solo army of Scorpions over on his side of the map, poking and prodding to see what kills he can grab. We do have Vertigo Bombers moving over here in the north. They're going to try to take down what they can, maybe go for a T3 if they can find it. Instead, they turn around and hit 2 of the tripods, knocking down their shields and doing a good amount of damage right before the assault for Bike Rush. Bike Rush is moving in with a staggering number of tanks and a handful of mammoth tanks as well. I'm not sure Drive is going to... There it is. The man span from Drive has started to happen. He's making his way up to this very large engagement. Right now, it looks like Futurama is a bit outnumbered. Bart Jones is here to support Bike. The drone platform has moved up forward onto this front line. That's going to soak up a lot of ticks. The one click does get called out, as well as the mines on top of the tanks over here. That is going to stop a large number of these tanks, hopefully giving enough time for the man spam and for the forces of Futurama to wrap up some kills, but this seems to be a large number of fighters. Drive is here in force to start helping him out. The avatars are starting to arrive that can turn this fight around, and Drive did lose a good number of forces, but the unfortunate thing was Futurama lost his drone ship. That is not going to be a small loss for him. Even if he gets that back up on the field, that's going to cost him a pretty penny to replace. I didn't catch it earlier, but it does look like Drive did try to put down a Hand of Nod to protect the drone ship, but it was a little too late. He does have a Redeemer moving onto the field in order to help his avatars on this side of the map, but it's going to be hard to see what they're going to be able to get done because this is still a large number of tanks, a large number of mammoth tanks, and while there are Devastator warships which can do a good amount of damage, they're only going to be able to do so much, and it looks like this Redeemer with no units inside of it is going to get caught out and going to be able to walk away just in time to save itself, it looks like. Clone Army for Bart Jones is out while he makes his march to Drive's base, and this is not looking well for Drive and Futurama. Drive's forces are pretty anemic, as well as Futurama. It did look like at some point Drive did call in the GG, giving all of his forces to Futurama, hoping maybe that he can get something else done. But there it is. There is Futurama's GG. Drive was just way too... I'm sorry. Bike Rush was just way too oppressive this time around for Futurama to deal with. It was just too much to fight with. He didn't have the defenses Drive had in previous rounds, ultimately winning them the round, with Bart Jones acting as backup and harassment, keeping Drive tied down and supporting Bike where he needed to. We've only just begun, Commander. Get ready because round 6 is on the way. Check your thermostat because the heat is on in round 6. Arizona Sunshine is our map this time, and the score has moved to 3-2, with Bart and Bike taking the lead. This encounter is sponsored by Quantum Coffee, for when you need a boost in this dimension and the next. Over in the top right-hand corner, wearing the yellow and red robes and the nod and steel talon gloves, this is the aggressive duo, Bart Jones and Bike Rush Owns. In these moments, we have their opponents in the bottom left-hand corner, wearing the teal and green robes, sporting the nod and screen gloves, the real Arizona Snowman, Futurama, and Drive. All fighters ready? Begin! Arizona Sunshine reminds me of when I was in Arizona as a teen. I left my skateboard out on the porch, and it melted. The wood melted. Hopefully our players don't melt in this round. Arizona Sunshine is a map to note a couple of things on. There are 3 blue Tiberium areas, one safe one per faction or per team, and then a contested one in the center. Those will be important to keep an eye on. There is also 1 Tiberium spike per player to grab, with sort of this like further aggressive one out here to grab note of, and it looks like this is sort of an interesting I don't know if dynamic is the right word to say here, but if you look at the natural expansions, how they're set up with, the players start here, move their way to this natural expansion, which for the most part is relative normal, and then both players seem to kind of want to move into this area, unless they're going to do something where like one of the more aggressive players like Futurama or Bike Rush in this case are going to want to take over that solo, while the other guy builds up a defense and gets ready for example, Drive builds up a defense and gets ready for the shenanigans of Bike Rush over on this side. Doesn't look like the scouting has been real heavy for the faction on the left as of right now. Their scouts keep getting taken out left and right, unfortunately for them. So if there was going to be something sneaky by the Nod faction, I'm not sure they would have seen it really coming. They did get a couple of buzzer swarms up there in Bart Jones's base, which gave them a little bit of a notice, but not quite too much. Something to remember is with the Steel Talon factions, they do not have APCs. They have these MRTs, these mobile repair transports, which do exactly as it says on the tin. They repair themselves. A sort of sneaky strategy that people like to do with the MRTs, which I think is absolutely hilarious, is they load up the MRTs with rocket squads like they have here, and then they put the MRTs in a transport and fly the MRTs like a flying unit, like an air unit. It's super hysterical, and I love to see it every single time. Even if it doesn't work out for the player, it is the funniest thing, and here we go. I wished for it. I willed it into existence. Here comes the flying MRTs. If it's truly my birthday, if it's truly a celebration, we're gonna see the other Steel Talons faction get some flying MRTs as well. Bart Jones moving into the base of Drive, seeing these flying MRTs, seeing MRTs on the ground versus MRTs in the air right now. But like I said, these MRTs are going to be repairing themselves and their transport so they can do these drive-by shootings over and over. Does look like the forces for Bart Jones here do get pushed back, as well as Bike Rush, and Drive is doing a decent job here. He was doing a decent job of skirting around behind them. I feel like he should have gotten some additional kills, but he is going to try to sneak and get what he can. It looks like he's regrouping with Futurama over on this side. Hopefully the Seeker Tanks decide to target down that AA battery, and that does not appear to be the case. Descents are moving in for Futurama. I feel like those are just going to be a little too late in order to get any purchase. I'm not sure these Seeker Tanks are really going to be able to get anything at all. They just haven't done a lot of focused fire on really anything. Flying MRTs are still moving their way around, and the funny thing is they're going to be able to kill these orcas. I just absolutely love it. What a dumb way to lose an orca. What a silly way to lose units in general. It's just my favorite thing. And I've seen Bike Rush play plenty of these games where he gets annoyed with someone else's tactics, and it's like, you know what, if you're going to do this, I'm going to do it better. So I wouldn't be surprised here if we actually get a second set of flying MRTs, which will be absolutely fantastic to see. I'm going to hope and pray for that. MRTs still positioning for Drive to get what kills they can, but Bike Rush is a seasoned player. He's going to be able to see this stuff coming. Bart Jones is going to be able to get a minor scout in with these bikes, losing them pretty quickly, but there's no way he would have known that that all those units were going to be there. Orca Strike is going to get called in on this refinery, but the one click comes out, taking it out, as well as a harvester, I believe. That is going to be unfortunate for Drive. He's going to need that economy, especially dealing with Bike Rush. If Bike Rush's economy isn't offset whatsoever, he's going to have some difficulties later on in the game. But he did only lose one refinery, but all these little whittling down tactics are trying to make a hole in the other person's armor to try to take a couple of notes out of their strategy and mix them up a little bit. And here it is. We do get the MRTs from Bike Rush. I'm absolutely loving it. Bike Rush went in mass. He has, it looks like 8 MRTs as well as some orcas moving in here. He should be able to get some decent harvesters unless he's going to fight the other MRTs in the air, which is just fantastic. Gunrocker getting some shots off on some of these MRTs, but these MRTs are a little bit harder to take down with just them being able to repair over and over. We do lose one for Bike Rush for very little gains. I don't think he gets too much, but he did get some scouting, and he didn't really lose too much. He did lose one MRT and one air transport, but that's nothing real major. It looks like Bart Jones has taken a note out of Drive's book this time around, and he has grabbed some stealth tanks to begin the harassment on Futurama. Not a bad strategy. It worked very well against Bart Jones and Bike previously, so it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. MRTs are still sharking their way around, still getting some scouts, still showing a portion of the map for Bike Rush, helping him sort of keep a control over this center, even if it's an indirect control, because if you control this, you can see when your opponent is coming, if your opponent is coming, and you can protect your investments, you can protect your refineries. Seeker tanks stealth tanks do find a kill on one, possibly two of the harvesters. That is 2 harvesters down at the very least, for Futurama. One stealth take does get taken down. There is another one left. He's probably going to get sandwiched here in a little bit. MRT's picking on the air units for Futurama, and it looks like Bike Rush is posturing to move more into this center point of the map, just like Futurama is doing on the northern side of the map. They both want to control that area because it is important for taking both the blue Tiberium and is important for seeing when your opponent is going to attack. There are plenty of players in RTSs, especially Command & Conquer, that will tell you the best defense is an offense. It's harder for your opponent to attack you if they are being attacked. Not necessarily the worst strategy. As I've mentioned before, the defender's advantage is a thing, but it is not all-powerful, and it is definitely beatable. Stealth Take does get taken down over on the left-hand side of the map, the top left, getting killed right over there, and it looks like the main assault for Futurama has begun over here on this side. One click does get called down, and this is going to be a large number of gunwalkers versus an even larger number of avatars with disruption towers out here as well. Orchestra are going to come in and kill a large number of these gunwalkers, or sorry, they're going to EMP them, then kill them. And it looks like the assault, for the most part, for Futurama has stopped. He's lost the majority of the units. That could be extremely critical for him. Losing your units in an attack is losing economy. There's a finite amount of resources here. While he does have the larger field, so does Bike Rush, and Bike Rush has not lost very many units. Neither has Drive, but Drive does not have the economy of Futurama and Bike, so he's only going to be able to hold off Bike Rush for so long. Their primary strategy seems to be banking on Futurama being able to take Bart Jones and just unfortunately losing a large number of units over in that assault. It'll be hard to see him try and make a comeback from that. Not impossible though, because if Bike Rush bumbles his attack, that means Bike Rush will then be the weekend, and Drive can capitalize on that. The thing that is concerning though is Bike Rush has a staggering number of mammoth tanks here, along with a good number of man spam. Speaking of some man spam, we've got a small amount of it in the north from Bart Jones. Not a bad strategy to use man spam versus Scrin. We've seen it work time and time again. I believe we've also seen Futurama specifically use man spam against Bart Jones when Bart Jones was playing Scrin and vice versa. It looks like Bike has started his assault. He is setting up his construction yard as well as getting some defenses from the Nod faction. These disruption towers can help a whole bunch, and Bike Rush is just setting himself up, trying to get rid of some of that defender's advantage that Drive would have during this assault. And another thing of note is while Bike Rush is moving in over here on the south, it looks like Bart Jones is moving in with his man spam and avatars as well as beam cannons. This is not looking well for the team on the left-hand side of the map. This is going to be a lot to deal with. Not impossible to fight, not impossible to defeat, but I just don't think Drive has the forces here, and they have these set of units that are just sort of out of position, not really fighting anything too important. Their units aren't really grouped up to begin this assault, which means that they're going to get picked on here and there. Bike is starting to lose some units, but I think Drive is still outnumbered. He needs to be sending every single unit he can into this clump, because this is an all or nothing fight. Whoever wins this fight in the south, I would believe, is going to win the game. The other note is that the forces over here in the north for Futurama have begun their assault on the forces of Bart Jones, on the Nod forces, and the one click does get called out, taking a large number of those avatars out of the fight, at least temporarily. But those avatars are going to come back here any moment, and there it is. There are the avatars. They're going to start getting targeted down, and Futurama is going to do the best he can to take it out. It looks like the forces of Drive have been entirely eliminated. He has left the game and has at the very least, he has left all of his infrastructure and units to Futurama. Hopefully, Futurama will be able to pull another 1v2 out of his hat. He does decide to call in the GG, though. He does not think that he has the forces or the economy to continue that fight. That is probably a safe bet. He had a force in the north and a force in the south and no real answer to either one. So he's going to try his hand better in the next round. Commanders, the excitement is far from over. Get ready for round 7. There you are, Commander. Let's hop into round 7. Our map is ominously called Murderer's Row, and our score has moved to 4-2, with Bart and Bike taking another round. This skirmish is sponsored by Zero Gravity Gyms, where working out is truly weightless. Taking over the right-hand side of the map, wearing the yellow and red robes in the marked of Kane and black hand gloves, the real MRT Masters, Bart Jones. And Bike Rush Jones. Taking the best territory, the Ordos I Mean Fighters on the left-hand side of the map, wearing the teal and green robes, sporting the GDI and black hand gloves. This is Futurama and Drive. All fighters ready? Begin! I really have to hand it to both Drive and Bike for their faction choices this time around. That's so funny. Anywho, everyone is mixing it up this time around, picking different factions, trying to see what sticks. But that doesn't make any sense. That's silly. Everyone knows what a stick is. It's not complicated. It's brown and sticky. No, wait, Commander, come back! Yokes aside, both players on each side of the map have decided to take positions in multiple of the buildings to be as annoying as possible. That does seem to be a trait for this particular map, is a whole bunch of buildings on the exteriors of these bases. We even have the all-fun pillbox inside of Bart Jones's base by Futurama. But right now, everybody is just getting their scouting done, and it looks like we actually had some shadow teams. I don't know if they were able to get anything. I guess I just missed that, but we do have some shadow teams out with some ranks by Bart Jones. I'm curious to see if he's going to be able to get anything else. Doesn't look like as of yet. Oh, shadow teams do get a kill on one of the engineers. That is going to be super annoying for Drive over on this side of the map, considering it looks like his Tiberium Spike was taken by... That does appear to be the case. Oh yeah, his Tiberium Spike was taken by Bike Rush over on this side of the map. Forces continue to be annoying on Drive's base, hitting that power plant. It's nothing really to sneeze at, but it's nothing really that great in general. We do have blue Tiberium in the center of the map, which Bike Rush is already going for. Bike Rush is already deciding to grab. And that is going to be good for him early on, especially because there seems to be a large number of blue Tiberium here, sitting here for them. Everybody is just piling up inside of these buildings, being ultra annoying, and it looks like Futurama and Bart are going to try and take the same natural expansion, which is this guy over here, and I'm not sure if Drive and Bike Rush are going to do the same thing. No, Drive does, or Bike does decide to go for something a little more standard on his side of the map. Forces continue to be annoying for Futurama. Futurama moving into the large number of laser turrets for Bart Jones over here. Watchtower does get called out, and there is going to be a small base race between Futurama and Bart Jones over on that side of the map. Forces, the man spam, the forces of Drive have begun their assault in the south as well against the man spam of Bike Rush, but Bike Rush is able to mostly push them out. A good number of the laser turrets have been taken out over here on this side of the map, and a Guardian Cannon does get called out, but these laser turrets are just going to do too much damage for it to really do anything substantial. We do have the aggressive War Factory over here by Futurama in order to provide himself a little bit more cover, provide himself a little bit more healing with dealing with all of those various different units from Bart Jones. Bart Jones is not looking super great. We do get an Obelisk of Light by, I believe, can't see what color that is. I don't know where that Obelisk of Light came from. It looks like it's teal, but it's hard to tell. Maybe it's got to be Drive's Obelisk of Light. It does get taken out almost immediately. Two more Obelisks do come up, replace it, one by Bart, one by Bike. Over on this side of the map, they're doing all kinds of crazy damage, and a Flame Tank Rush does move into Drive's base. Drive was able to catch it and see it coming, but there's another one heading down the center of the map. It looks like Futurama is pushing Bart Jones out of this expansion. That is going really well for him and not quite so well for Drive as of this moment. Drive has been pushed back a whole bunch of times, and these forces of Bike Rush are going to be a problem here for Futurama as well. It does look like the Shadow Teams were able to get another kill. Bart able to use those Shadow Teams to pick on the old main base of Futurama over on that side of the map, but he looks like he's also going to lose his construction yard over in the center part of the map, over his natural expansion. He's also going to run out of resources at some point. However, this is a hefty amount of Tiberium to deal with, so it'll be a little bit harder to take him out. The construction yard does get taken down. That is going to be not super great for Bart Jones, but Bike seems to be on top of it. He has man spam harassing both players at the same time. It looks like this is probably going to come down to Futurama and Bike duking it out. Bike just producing this crazy amount of man spam, pulling it up and getting ready to move on the various different bases, while Futurama, for example, is stuck dealing with Bart Jones over here. He can't really defend his main base too much. There are a large number of watchtowers here to start getting some of the rocket squads, but I don't think they're going to be able to stop them in time from killing this refiner. That refinery's going down pretty quick. And the harvester does get the crush, killing a large number of those units. That is really great. I really wish harvesters could go heroic for squishing that number of units. That would be absolutely hysterical. But that assault does get stopped for now by a harvester and a handful of towers, so that is going well for Futurama. Futurama has been able to defend himself. Drive engaging in some minor harassment back and forward with Bike Rush. I'm not really sure that is the call. Maybe his goal is to just see what Bike Rush has coming, but Bike Rush has a lot. He has avatars, he has man spam, and we've seen that work time and time again. It's going to be hard to deal with that. Futurama's going to have a lot on his plate, and it doesn't look like Drive really has the forces to deal with Futurama. And the other thing, though, too, is these purifiers are starting to make their way into the main base of Futurama. There are avatars over on the Bart Jones side of the map over here, and they're going to be able to do some substantial damage. My guess is that they're going to move in the same time the purifiers are moving in. Futurama has to pick the lesser or the greater of two evils, which is probably Bike Rush here. Bike Rush just has too many forces to deal with. That is 4 avatars, but that might be easier to deal with than the forces of Bike Rush over here. Most of the man spam does get taken out for Bike Rush. He does still have all of these purifiers that are at decent amount of health, some of them that are at half HP, but nothing really major as of yet. And it looks like a large number of man spam has moved into the base of Drive. This is not looking great for him. He does have these shredder turrets ready to go, but they're only going to be able to do so much because all of the forces for Bike are moving into Drive this time around. This is going to be extremely hard to deal with, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see Drive call in the GG here in a minute. He is taking out a good number of the forces of Bike Rush, but Bike Rush is going to be able to get his construction yard, taking 1 construction yard down per team. Bike Rush is also moving his MRT into, not his MRT, his construction yard into the base of Drive. He is going to set up shop here. He is going to live here. That is his plan. Bart Jones does put down some defensive towers to help out Bike Rush's assault, but they get taken down sort of unceremoniously as quickly as they can. Futurama has begun his fight against Bart Jones over on his side of the map, taking a lot of losses, getting EMP'd, and this is not looking good for the left-hand team, for Futurama, for Drive. They're just losing a whole bunch left and right. These avatars putting in some work with the defenses of the shredder turrets coming to their aid, and it looks like Drive is pretty cemented in the base, or Bike Rush is pretty cemented in the base of Drive. I don't think he's going to be able to pull him out. Drive does call in the GG, leaving it to just Futurama. Futurama, seeing that, thinks that he cannot fight off Bart Jones and Drive at the same time. That is going to grant Bike and Bart another round. I think even the Tiberium needs a break after that one. Round 8 is coming up. Commander, the battle resumes. We are entering round 8 on the map, Pandora. The score is 5-2 in Bart and Bike's favor. This round is sponsored by Reverse Microwave Ovens, freezing your food in seconds. Starting us off in the bottom right-hand corner, wearing the yellow and red robes in the nod and black hand gloves, we have Bart Jones and Bike Rush Jones. Over on the top left-hand corner of the map, wearing the teal and green robes, sporting the scrin and marked of Kane gloves, the looking for a comeback, Futurama and Drive. All fighters ready? Begin. Pandora is a map where I think some of the fields look like dog biscuits. That's not important. I just wanted you to know. Items of interest, though. There are a couple of fields here that start off not grown, also looking like doggy biscuits, in my opinion, just of the cookie variety. And there appears to be a handful, I think one per player, tib spike wise, if I can find it and not be blind. Or is there only one tib spike in general? There's one there, there's one there. We will look and see if we can find any more here in a little bit. The scouting has begun for both factions. It looks like the buggy is moving into their base now, is moving into Drive and Futurama's base now to get the scout off. That buzzer was able to get a good amount of scout on both of these bases. This is also a little bit of what I feel is kind of a cramped start, and I believe the path for the natural expansions is going to be for Futurama to take this large field and for Drive to take this bottom field, and then the same for Bart Jones taking the large field and Bike Rush moving into the Dog Biscuit field. That appears to be the case. Oh, so there are the other two Tiberium spikes. So yeah, Drive and Futurama take those two, and Bart Jones and Bike Rush take the mirrored ones on the opposite side. This is also one of those maps where we get to see the tiniest amount of water. I feel like we should have seen more water in a couple of these maps. I just kind of think that it's nice. I don't think you could do anything other than fly over it, but it would have been nice to see Command & Conquer do some stuff with terrain and whatnot. Maybe something like what Company Heroes did, where you have seasons in game. That would be pretty cool. But we're probably asking for too much, considering I don't think we're going to get another Command & Conquer title, unfortunately. I would love to receive another one, but we'll see. Bikes have begun their harassment inside of Drive's base. They are able to take out one buggy, but they go down just as quickly themselves. They're getting pushed out over on that push. Bike moving into the base of Futurama to get a little bit of scouting, but Seeker Take's able to take it out just as quickly as they arrive. All players are just going to start their positioning, start their posturing to see what they can see. However, there are a little bit more of Scorpion tanks than I normally see doing the scouting. Maybe because the bikes just weren't able to make it through yet. I'm not sure. Maybe they're going to try to get some harassment off. Words are hard. Does seem to be, and we do actually have an operations center already out for Bike Rush. I'm curious if he's going to do something sneaky. Maybe get some, I think that's why he's sending the Scorpion tanks in, to figure out where Futurama is patrolling. That way he could potentially sneak that flame tank in. And there is the flame tank moving to the north. And I'm assuming we're going to get another one moving to the south. Nope, we have a beam cannon instead. Bike Rush wants to make me a liar. And the other thing that important that Bike Rush is doing is he's taking over the center point of the map, so no one sees his flame tank moving all the way to the north. However, it does look like Futurama has intentionally either left a unit here or has forgot about his Devourer tank on the northern side of the map. We do have our first set of tripods out for Futurama for the Scrin faction, and it looks like Drive has decided to go Tiberium Troopers to see what he can get done over on this side of the map. But there is a lot of Scorpions here to counter this, to fight this. He does have a good number of man spam, but I'm not sure that's going to be enough to fight, for starters, the Black Hand of those units. It does look like the flame tank does get taken down sort of unceremoniously. I don't believe it was able to really get anything over there. No, it doesn't appear to be the case. Bike Rush has already begun his aggression onto the base of Futurama. Another flame tank moving through the south, trying to see if it can get anything sneaky, but Drive is ready for it. Looks like both players had stuff there prepared and ready to go to see if someone went to do something sneaky. I'm guessing that is a common tactic. Maybe that's the sneaky alley. Bike Rush is already moving into the base of Futurama. He has set up his construction yard. Bart Jones is helping him out with this disruption field, and this is not looking good already for the Futurama and Drive faction for their side of the map. It doesn't look like Drive is just quite able to keep up with this intensity. He doesn't seem to have a crazy amount of forces, especially to be able to support this assault, or to support the defense of this assault. Where on the other hand, Bike Rush has Bart Jones helping him out. He is mostly pushing by himself, and it is a minor pushing. Obelisk does come out for the defense, but this is also going to be able to stop plenty of these harvesters from harvesting, eventually hurting the economy of Futurama. And that appears to be the goal. More defensive and infrastructure structures do come out for Bart and Bike. They are here to stay. This is their all or nothing. They're moving everything in to fight the forces of Futurama, and I don't see where the forces of Bart Jones are. I don't know if they got wiped out early, but like this would be the chance for him to move forward. He does have bikes and buggies. He could at least be harassing over in the background. He doesn't seem to be able to do too much. Futurama is pretty much on his own, fighting both Bike and Bart and Bike Rush. Words are hard. Most of the base here for Futurama is almost taken out, and I'm not sure what he's going to be able to do. It does look like we have a commando out here for Drive. He went with a little more expensive of a unit. Those commandos can put in some work, but if they are noticed, they get taken down rather quickly, and most of the infrastructure for the natural expansion of Futurama is taken out here. Most of the forces of Futurama are also down. We do have a couple avatars out here to try to help with some of the defense, but this is a lot of man spam and not a lot of answer to it. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. There is the GG. That brings the score to 6-2, with Bike and Bart winning the entire match. Thank you for tuning in, Commander. I have been your host, Korak. Transmission out.